Welcome, everyone, to the Orinda Classic Car Tour live stream. I'm Steve Harwood, and joining me as color commentator is Jay Ward. And what a privilege to have Jay part of the broadcast. Jay is an Orinda resident, a car enthusiast, and car expert, and he is the creative director for the Pixar Cars franchise. And welcome, Jay. And Jay, what are your thoughts about this great day before us?
I'm looking forward to it. This should be a lot of fun. This is unusual to be talking about cars and not be there, physically there. But I'm still looking forward to it. I think this is a neat chance for people to get out and do some things with their cars.
Well, we've got photos of all of the cars that are in the car tour today, and we got them grouped in groups of 8 with a little video about 4 minutes long each. So, Lyle, let's roll our first group of cars, and I'll provide a little commentary about each of them as they come by. Oh, and here we go. And here's John Anderson's 1957 Chevrolet Bel Air sedan, which he named Emily. And John bought her way back in 1976 when he was 16 years old. My goodness. And he's owned and driven her for 44 years since. And John clearly has a lifelong love affair with Emily. Oh, and here we go with Ed and Donna Benson's 1957 Ford Thunderbird. And Ed had a 1955 T-Bird for 20 years. And then in 1993 got the bird bug again and purchased Gunny, named after its gunmetal metallic paint. And Ed says if he had a quarter for every picture to take at a Gunny, he would be a rich man. Gunny, looking good.
Great car.
Oh, and here we switching to the modern day. We got Dick Burkholder's 2018 Tesla 3. And Tesla 3 introduced in late 2017, and Dick's was number 2,132 to roll off the line. And Dick, a great friend of all of ours, but what a revolution Tesla and Elon Musk have introduced right here in our backyard in the Bay Area. Oh boy. And here's Todd and Julie Mercer's 1965 Shelby AC Cobra 427 SC replica. It was licensed by Carroll Shelby and built in 2002 by Super Performance as a rolling chassis. And Ted and Julie purchased the car in 2016, and since then have replaced the engine with a lighter one, installed a tuned coil-over suspension system, performance sway bars, and 6-piston Wilwood disc brakes. Oh, and coming around the bend here now is Kevin Enderby in his Ferrari F355 that he's owned since it was new in 1997. And after being totaled in the middle of a 5-car road accident in 2013, this car was restored to its first place winning concours condition. Oh boy. He drives it on the track and on the road. He's got 167,000 miles on it. So he drives it regularly. Oh, and here's a little nostalgia with Robert Ginn's 1965 Mustang Coupe. And the Mustang, Lee Iacocca's brainchild, first introduced in 1964, is iconic and has been capturing the hearts of drivers for 56 years. And oh boy, here is Bruce Kimmis's 2017 Corvette Coupe, a replacement for an exact copy that he totaled. We got another accident here. The car is dressed up with pinstripes, a Z06 grille, carbon fiber rear bumper, and a front splitter. And oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, here is Allison Lindquist's 1938 Cadillac 60 Special. All I can say is, oh my, oh my, oh my. And our last car in this group is John Logan's 2007 Lotus Elise, which he says has no dynamic stability management, no active yaw control, no electronic brake distribution, no traction control. It doesn't have anything. But he says, if you want to go fast, seriously fast, sit down, strap in, shut up, and hang on. Just to change directions a little bit, let's talk about Orinda Motors and the Orinda Classic Car Center, which Jay is our lead sponsor. And Orinda Motors has been integral to the Orinda Classic Car Show and the tour since the beginning. And no one has been more involved than John Bannock, who is manager of the Classic Car Center. And here's an interview with John that I just recently taped with him that provides a little background to both the car show and what they're up to there at Orinda Motors and the Orinda Classic Car Center. Well, I'm here with John Vanek, who is our great friend and manager of the Orinda Motors Classic Car Center. And John has been instrumental in the Orinda Classic Car Show and now the Car Tour this year for all of it, 16 years. And we're delighted to be able to talk to him today to get a little history. So, John, tell us how the car show first got started way back 16 years ago and how it's evolved over the years.
Well, it's a great story, Steve. What happened is when I came to work here at Orinda Motors in 2004, and another one of my technicians, Greg Sisk, he liked classic cars. I like old cars. But the ownership did have policy of not working on classic cars. And that was Alan Pennebaker. And we had to take him, we had to convince him, because we had people, both and I, Greg and I have a passion for it. We love cars, we love old cars, and they're around, they need to be fixed and they need to be out. And so we started working on them, and I put an ad in Drive magazine. And so, I got the blessing from the ownership. And so I started doing some advertising campaigns. And what I did is we put together a photo shoot one day out here on a Saturday, and I collected several cars. And one of them was from Chip Herman's Mustang. And we had lined them up, and I took a bunch of pictures, and he mentioned, wow, this looks like a car show. And he came by a couple of days later and said, would you want to do a car show? And I said, yeah, absolutely. I'd want to do a car show. Are you kidding me? We can make this happen easy. So the very first year, 2004, we had 18 cars right out here on the lot. And Chip brought his stereo, and I think somebody cooked sausages or something like that. And that's where it started. We raised a few dollars for the theater that year, and we decided we'd do it again. Well, it grew, and the classic car shop grew along with it. And Chip, being the marketing guru that he is, he assembled a team, and we had a lot of volunteers. We had a lot of people that wanted to be involved. And so you put up your hand, and we find out what you do. And so we have insurance specialists, we have advertising specialists. We have, the thing really grew to a team that it requires a staff to run. And this thing, slowly but surely, we closed the street. Next year, for a few years, we got on the golf course, and the thing has expanded to about 200 cars.
Yeah, wonderful.
Which is hand in hand with now the Classic Car Center is as big as it is ever. It's pretty much the same volume of work that we're doing at the general shop. We're getting well known, and people are coming out. We're a Northern California specialist for these classic cars, and we have a reputation. And we wanted to see the car show go, and we're going to do it as long as we're allowed. And being this year, we had some complexities about the COVID.
Sure.
And we wanted to keep the thing going. It was going to be irresponsible to actually have a show. We have thousands of people literally walking through the premises, and that's just too many people congregating.
Oh, yes.
So we want to keep the continuity of the car show going. We wanted to let people see these cars. We want to support our sponsors, and we want to support our charities. Seniors Around Town is our main one. We're the main budget for that group. It's a very important charity. And so the next best thing is to have a tour. It's something that we can still get the cars out on the street. People out in the neighborhood can see them. And this year, based on what the technology that is available these days, and we're gonna put it out there on the worldwide internet for everybody to see, and it's going to turn out to be multimedia spectacular.
I think it's going to be absolutely terrific. Well, this is being shown, going to be shown during the course of it, and it'll be a great day with around 100 absolutely fabulous cars. Where does all the passion come from? I've been exposed to it here, being part of this the car tour organization, and being exposed to a lot of the owners that are so proud of their cars. I mean, and they've been sending me descriptions of their cars, and you could tell that these cars they're passionate about their car. They're passionate about the whole process that they're involved in. Where does all that come from? How do you explain that?
Well, it's kind of hard to explain, but these cars, they are, it's a hobby. Sometimes it's a hobby, you know, so people get in their hobbies. But lots of times it's more than that, you know, it's like a pet or it's like a family member or something. I delivered a Buick Roadmaster in Marin County in San Rafael, and the whole family was there with signs, welcome back, Sherman. Sherman was the name of the car. Okay, so it starts early for people. And myself, and when I was 5 years old, it was 1967. My brother Dave got a '66 Mustang, and he threw me, my brother and my back seat, and went ripping around El Cerrito Hills, and that's where it started for me. And ever since then, he had T-Birds, Mustangs, Shelbys, all through the years, and I just really had that's where my passion, and a lot of it is. A lot of these people, these are heritage cars. My dad had the car, my uncle had the car.
Well, that too, yeah.
Home from the hospital. These are cars that it's more than a hobby. It's a sentimental deal.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that. There's also a lot of the one I lost. You know, I had this car in high school, and I had one too. I had a 240Z that I had to let go, and now those things are worth a lot. I was having a family, you know, and that happened to a lot of people. So they try to get that car back.
Well, thank you so much, John, and thanks for making this great tradition continue. Oh boy, what a story there, and what a good guy John is. He's a great friend to all of us in the community. You know, I'm struck, Jay, by the fact that so many of our car owners get their hands dirty, tinkering with their cars, remodeling them. They're really actively involved. And I think my friend Terry Rogers in Seattle holds the tinkering record. He's been working on his 1946 MG in his garage for 65 years. It still has in the garage. But I'm curious about in your own life, you grew up as drawing cars on the creative side, and you have the skill in drawing them. Were you also a tinkerer, and do you work on your own cars yourself?
Yeah, I do. I have a number of old cars, and I think anybody that does own older vehicles, you do have to know how to do the basics. If you don't, eventually the car breaks down, and then you end up, you know, asking for help as opposed to figuring out yourself. And they're not hard to work on. You heard John's point was the parts are hard to get good parts, but it's pretty straightforward to work on them. So you can learn basic mechanical skills, and unlike a new car where everything is electronic and plugged in and you just throw it away when it breaks, those cars were meant to be rebuilt over and over again.
Yeah, no, well, I admire the dedication of so many people. As we'll go through these cars we have today, there's a lot of examples where people have remodeled them themselves. So, well, let's proceed to look at our next grouping of cars, talk about those. And here we have Austin and Benita Louie's 1955 Chevrolet Bel Air hardtop, and they're proud new owners of that. And this car is fully restored in all aspects, now sporting a GM 502 big block engine with an incredible 530 horsepower. Oh boy, it's in Prowler red, and it makes it unmistakable. That can roar down the car tour. We'll see that out there today. And next up, we've got Bill Merkel's 2005 Dodge Viper Copperhead Venom Roadster, sporting a 500 horsepower V10 naturally aspirated gasoline engine. The Copperhead model's visual trademark was its pink, a unique color called Copper Fire Orange. And having multi-chromatic pigment allows the paint to change color in changing lighting conditions. Oh boy. And next up, we've got a James Minder's 1964 MGB Roadster. This car is one of 25 of a series built by Frontline Developments in England in 2018, but it is registered as a 1964 since every series car requires a donor car, and bits and pieces from a 64 donor car were used in the restoration of this. And there you see one of the technicians working on completing it. Now we go to the Greg Schwartz's 2012 Lotus Evora S. And Greg dreamt of owning a beautiful Lotus since childhood, and his dream came true in 2012. And he says he treats it with utmost respect and never is out in the rain, only wet when he cleans it off. And it's garaged with only 5,500 miles on it. Oh, it's his pride and joy. And moving along, we have Brad Schaefer's 1971 BMW 2002 Coupe. And this car is a minimalist dream with no navigation system, sophisticated entertainment, no power windows, power steering, door locks, cruise control, not much else. But it has one modern invention, and here it is coming up on the screen. It has a clock on the dashboard. Oh boy. And here's Ron Sharp in his Porsche 356B Coupe, which Ron has owned and maintained since 1982. And Ron says it's a driver's car, not a show car. It has an engine from a 69 912 Porsche with a 1700cc four-cylinder Weber carbs, front disc brakes, and a sports exhaust. And here's a fun one, Shel Simon's 1961 Ford Thunderbird. And Shel bought the car in 2014 for $2 from his Uncle Herm, an optometrist, and thus you see the I license plate. The car's name is Jackie, named after Herm's wife. And as Jackie, the car, not Shel's aunt, is 7 feet wide, she is perfect for social distancing. And here's Steve Kelly's 2011 Porsche GT3 RS. And this particular car spent several years in Europe with its previous owner, where the suspension was modified and tuned by Porsche team Manthey Racing in preparation for circuiting at Nürburgring. Steve reports its manual gearbox makes it an engaging and visceral car to drive. And finally, we've got Hayes Englehart's 1966 Ford Thunderbird convertible. It was the last Thunderbird convertible until the retros of the early 2000s, and Hayes has repainted it, has redone the engine, brakes, and everything to make it a true driver's car. Well, Jay, let's have some fun with our viewers now. We've got, thanks to your help, we've got a compilation of video clips from great car movies. And if anybody can identify what these are, they can send us a chat or raise their little hand icon on the live stream, if you can find your way to do that. And we'll actually bring you into the broadcast to see if you can properly identify these. Here we go with our first grouping as we see these wonderful cars. Here they are coming through. Oh my gosh, there's that fabulous Thunderbird I was just talking about. Oh my God, that's a Buick. We'll hear some more about that later. And one of our wonderful Porsches, we've got about 11. Oh my gosh. But wow, let's roll our video clip of these old movies that we love.
Doesn't trust the car yet. Come on, Ken. I gave you new brakes, buddy. Come here, fool. Let's do it.
He needs to take another lap on it.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's too much fun. Well, let's see if we have anybody out there that can identify 4 or 5 of these. Hold your little hand up or send us a chat. I know Sally Johnson is offering up in the chat a couple. Lisa, let's bring Sally onto the broadcast.
Here I am. Hi.
Oh, we have her in the flesh. So Sally, well, welcome to our
in our classic Chevy Colorado truck.
Yes. So I know the first one was Bullet. I know the Animal House one. The second one, I can't remember.
Ford versus Ferrari.
Ford versus Ferrari.
They've got 3.
3 of them. Yeah. To the other 2, I couldn't. They were too new for us. So.
But we're old Orindians since 1964.
Yeah, we're old Orindians, 1964.
And what are you doing right now, Sally? Are you in the tour, or are you just going on your errand?
No, we're in Oakland.
We're in Oakland.
Oakland visiting our property.
Yeah, we definitely are watching you guys through Zoom, so we're pretty excited. But no, we're watching you.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for being on our broadcast. Well, Jay, let's go to you. Our final 2 videos, what were they?
Well, we had Baby Driver. If you haven't seen that movie, the young man driving the Subaru WRX does some fantastic stunts in that movie. That was one of the films. That was the red car that you saw go by. Let's see, they got Ford versus Ferrari. And then what came up after that, Steve?
Then they had Christine, kind of an obscure one, but you put me onto this, and it's quite something.
Yes, that was one that Christine was one that I really love as a very odd car movie, because it's kind of a horror film about a car that becomes obsessed with the drivers, but really beautifully shot. I think that movie is now it's got to be over 30 years old now, which is amazing, and it still looks great. Stephen King.
Oh my gosh. And by the way, I mentioned Terry Rogers with the car. He's got his hand held up. Let's bring Terry onto the broadcast. Oh my, hey Terry. I don't know if you heard, I made reference to you earlier.
I know. I was just nursing a wound on my finger that I clipped while putting new brake lines in the TC, but we're still working on it. It's going to get there.
No, I mean, this has got to be a record here. 65 years of working on a car.
Yeah, I bought that in September of 1955. I was just starting my junior year in high school, and my mother was taking my sister to college, and she stopped the car and said, "Do not go down to the bank, take out money and buy a car." I said, "Okay, Mom," it sounded like an invitation to me, so it's exactly what I did, and paid $150 for this running TC, and have drug it around the country and one thing after another. Any case, it's finally going to get running again. It's been pretty cool.
Has it ever been running in these 65 years?
Yeah, it was running when I bought it. I tore it apart, and it was back in my hot rod days, so I did a bunch of things that I regret, but they're reversible. And it was running for a while, and then it went on to college, into med school, and blah, 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 blah. And so had some guy do the body, and somebody else went through the engine and transmission for me, and now it's my role to put it back together again.
No, Jay, have you ever heard of anybody that's as wacky as Terry is?
Well, Terry can tell you that MG's, most British cars require more work than your average car. They have a lot of things that can go wrong on them, but they are fun to work on. They're fairly straightforward. It's just the British standard of the way things fit together is a little different than say a German car.
You're being kind. Yes. That's
yeah.
Right. And it's interesting. There are at least 3 enterprises in this country who provide pretty good quality, either newly manufactured parts or in some instances new old stock. And so it's an advantage to us to be able to tap them for parts that are either worn out or need to be replaced.
Now here's a trivia question for Terry, and he'll know this, but most people won't. But most people do not know what MG stands for.
I believe it stands for Morris Garage.
Correct. You've won the prize of the day. You're correct. It stands for Morris Garages. That's what MG stood for.
Yeah.
Is that the same entity that makes the Morris?
No, Morris Minor would have been a different car, different time, but MG is back in business now as a Chinese-owned company now, and I don't think they
Right.
have any British ties, but they bought the rights to the name. So in
Right.
certain countries, you can still see new MGs going down the road.
But I also did own a Morris Minor at one point. It threw a rod and had to go to its happy resting ground.
Well, at Terry, we actually have a Morris Minor in our car tour
Oh, yeah.
today.
Yeah, cool. Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
pretty cute.
Yeah.
With all these muscle cars, it's got this little tiny Morris Minor.
Yeah, you had talked with John earlier about how do people get into cars and passion. And I grew up in the 50s, right? So it was just sort of around us. We had such a good time. My first car actually was a 1934 Ford 5-window coupe, running solid car. I paid $35 for.
Well, that's the old beat up Mustang of that Steve McQueen drove sold for 3.7. So
Yeah, I know.
maybe
Yeah.
there's potential for your MG to get sold in that level. Hey, well, Terry, thanks for joining us.
My
Here,
pleasure.
delightful to have you. You're looking good.
Great, thank you much.
All right. Well, let's move on to see some of the other cars that we've got in the car tour. And let's roll our third grouping. And we start off with Martin Blow's 1963 Buick Riviera Coupe. And Martin bought the car in 2019 after looking for a 60s Riviera for many years. And he says he loves its breakthrough styling and the personal luxury aspect mixed with a big V8.
They are great cars, just beautiful.
Yeah, that's a nice, comfortable ride, I'm sure.
This is Harley Earl's finest work of the early 60s.
And here we have Nancy Bryant's 1969 Ford Mustang Mach 1. And Nancy was the original owner, and it has its original 351 Windsor engine and 4-speed manual transmission.
Great color, too.
Yeah, they knew how to do colors back in those days.
Yeah, loud like the car.
Oh, and here we have an MG. We have Larry Dell'Orfice's 1959 MGA 1600. And Larry purchased the car way back in 1987. And it was in rough condition, and he did a complete restoration, including the engine. Looks like Terry's garage there.
Wow.
Larry Dell'Orfice restored the MGA. So impressed, noted artist Jim DeWitt that he took a break from painting sailboats and painted this beautiful picture of Larry's car.
I think MGAs still are a really good deal for the money. They're a beautiful car.
And here we have a Ford Thunderbird, and it's Olivia Bowles Clymer's 67 T-Bird. And this original is all original with only 48,000 miles, and it's got sentimental value. It was Olivia's mom's car, which she used on the East Coast. And Olivia had it shipped out 25 years ago when her mom passed away. So, you know, like we were talking before about sentimental value,
Yeah.
drives a lot of people.
That dash was gorgeous with the center console coming down. What a neat car.
And here EJ Kohlberg in his 72 El Camino, and it's got a family tradition too. EJ has owned it now for 3 years, but his dad owned it 17 years before that. There's a young man in there, a future owner, and it is a proudly barber owned and can be found parked in front of the Sharp Barber Shop. There you see it in Lafayette.
Mm.
Well, next up, we've got Vinnie Manwin's 1965 Shelby Cobra replica built by Backdraft Racing. And underneath the hood is a 427 Roush engine with a Holley carburetor producing a full 550 horsepower. Oh boy. Its avalanche gray exterior with a Ferrari yellow stripe makes it hard to miss. I bet that has a great sound as it goes down the street too.
Yeah, that's an open pipe coming out of the side, so it's probably not subtle.
Here's Richard Lane's 54 Chevy 210 Coupe. And when Richard was 12 years old, his father bought a 50 Chevy Coupe as a second car, and he loved to sit in the driver's seat and pretend to drive. Flash forward, and in 2020, Richard acquired Big Red, a car that had been restored in 2007 with a Chevy 350 engine, new transmission, a Nova front clip, power steering, and front disc brakes. Oh, and here we have Paul Dolan's 68 Chevy Chevelle Coupe, and it was acquired in 2017. And Paul had been looking for a survivor Chevelle he could restore, and restore it he did with new metalwork, modern engine and transmission, new drivetrain, and a fresh paint job. He says he uses an occasional for autocross day, Wednesday night drags, and driving the kids to school. Oh my gosh. Jay, what do we see here?
It looks like the next group of cars are getting ready. I can see the MGA that we talked about a little while ago, the red car, and the AC Cobra replica leading the pack. And again, just a great mix of cars.
But look at this great variety. What do we see here as we look down the street, Jay?
There's the Morris Minor you were talking about. We have an Alfa Romeo 4C, which is a modern Alfa Romeo little sports coupe. Looks like a Mustang fastback. There's the Porsche 356 coupe that we talked about earlier.
Oh, yeah?
Yep. Another AC Cobra replica. And then there's the Cadillac that you liked so much, the 38, I believe.
Oh, boy. By the way, this is Horatio Jung with his drone. I mean, look at, he's avoiding the little wires there and going down the street. This is amazing.
It's like a video game that he's able to navigate all these deterrents that could catch his drone. Now, behind,
the wind doesn't blow it around. It's able to use GPS just to hold its position.
It's amazing.
Oh my gosh, is this great?
It is great. And we just got a peek back there that behind the Cadillac was a 57 Chevy, and then it looked like a little Porsche 550 Spider replica beyond that. So lots of great cars.
Well, let's take a look at our next clip of cars where I've got the photos, and we've got leading off Nick Verhoek's 1955 Ford Thunderbird. And Nick purchased the car in 2016, and he's able to track down the previous owner, who was a purist, and restored it to near original condition. And the goldenrod yellow exterior and black and yellow interior are the original color scheme, and most of the engine and the drivetrain parts are original.
Beautiful restoration. Really, really nice restoration.
Oh, and here we have a beauty. It's Andrew and Mito Petraeus's 1989 Maserati 228 Coupe. Andrew brought the car in 2005, and it's 100% original without any restoration. You don't see too many Maseratis around. I'm not sure they're sold anymore. Are they, Jay?
Yeah, Maserati is back. This is a very strange era of Maserati when they were really in a financial dire strait, and they had combined with a few other brands to try to keep themselves alive.
Oh, there we see it. But here we have Robert Panotti's replica 65 Shelby 427 Cobra SC. It is indigo blue, features a titanium stripe, and is named Little Evil Eva. And Robert says, the best thing is that this car was purchased with his wife's blessing, unlike the last car that he tried to sneak by her.
Yeah, never a good idea. I'll tell you, if they don't want the car there, it's not. It has to go.
Surprise, Mom. Look what's in the driveway. Well, here's Robert Shetman's Camaro Super Sport. He's owned since 2009, and it has been professionally restored to stock specs, and the car sports the original stock color of Hugger Orange. Jay, these are colors. This is the way color ought to be.
Yeah, definitely a pop. What's neat, too, is you just don't see that many restored to that level with a vinyl top and all the trim in place. Most guys modify their Camaros, and it's really nice to see one that left the way it's supposed to look from the factory. So I think it's great.
And here is Everett and Lila Shockley's 1963 Ford Galaxy 500 XL Penelope. And the big mid-60s Fords were always Everett's favorite cars when he was a kid growing up in Indianapolis. And when this one came available, it was a midlife crisis come true.
that aqua color was extremely popular in 62, 63, in that era. That aqua color was so popular. And it's funny to see the car with aqua and aqua interior. It's just really neat. Normally they'd have white or black, but somebody went all aqua.
Oh, boy. And here's Joe Silva's 1947 Ford Woody with original wood, and this beauty was restored and has been owned by Joe for 8 years, and it is a surfer's dream. I can hear the Beach Boys playing in the background as we look at this surfer girl, come on with me.
Yeah, and that is true wood. When you open the doors and the back, those are made completely of wood. So it's a steel front clip, steel top, but wood doors and a wood lift gate on that.
Well, back with our muscle cars, here's Steve Sobel's 1970 Ford Boss 302 Fastback, still in its original condition. And Steve bought the car in 1970 with savings from lawn maintenance service. He started when he was 13. Now, isn't that great? Oh, my God. From 1970.
Yeah, really cool to see a Boss, too. I love it. And there's another one right next to him.
Oh boy. And here is another Steve Sobel car. This time it's this 87 Alfa Romeo Spider Veloce. And Steve has owned Alfas since 1978. He took his pregnant wife to the hospital to deliver their middle daughter in 89 in his 1973 Alfa, and then took that same daughter when she grew up to her wedding ceremony in 2009 in this 87 model. And finally, we have our own John Vanek's 1973 Ford Mustang convertible. He's owned since 1992. It is completely stock except for the wheels. And this is the car that John has wanted since he was in 5th grade. It has been in the Orinda Car Show since the beginning, as well as many of the Orinda 4th of July parades. That's the end of our car video, and here we are switching back, and yes, indeed, here's our Orinda police preparing to lead this next group off, and there you see them taking off all the way to beyond the car wash, and then they go right on Pleasant Hill and up over on St. Mary's Road, up by St. Mary's College, down by Ream and Moraga, and then coming back on Moraga Road to Orinda, and they take a loop around in front of the Orinda Theater. Actually, that'd be a great shot right there with the iconic Orinda Theater with its Art Deco look with these great cars in front of it. And then they circle around, get on Route 24 for a little bit, and then head up to Grizzly Peak and over the top of the winding roads with the beautiful views out of San Francisco up there through Tilden Park and down Wildcat, and eventually ending their 30-mile tour at Orinda Motors again. Well, Jay, let's have some more fun with our viewers with these old car clips from some of the great car movies. I was concerned that somebody maybe tuned in when Steve McQueen was racing around San Francisco in his Bullet clip, and they thought that they were watching the Orinda Car Tour.
Well, that's one way to get through the tour quickly, isn't it?
But anyway, let's look. There we go, and here we are.
No, you're not.
That was fast.
Yeah?
31 flat. That's good enough to take the pole in the last race here. We got you. We're here.
I'm on fire!
Okay.
It's all right, you're not on fire! I knew it, you're lying! I'm burned! I'm on fire! Oh my God, help me! I don't want to die! Oh, stop, drop, and roll! Help me, Jewish God! Help me, Allah! Ah! Help me, Tom Cruise!
But how did he get down to his underwear that fast?
Tom Cruise! Oh God! Please don't let the invisible fire burn my friend! Ah! Okay! Okay, I got you, man! I got you!
some great clips.
Oh, boy. Jay, give us the answer of what these 5 clips were.
Yeah, so the first one was Days of Thunder from 1990, starring Tom Cruise. That was the NASCAR epic film he made that had Nicole Kidman, that later became his wife, in it. The next one was Fast and Furious, which started the whole franchise of 7 Fast and Furious films. What's always funny about those is you just shift another gear and all of a sudden your car goes faster, and then you just shift again and your car keeps going faster. The next one was Talladega Nights, which was obviously a humorous tongue-in-cheek look at the NASCAR world. Next was the remake of Gone in 60 Seconds. That's actually not the original Gone 60 Seconds. That's the one with Nicolas Cage in it that came out a while ago. And the last one a lot of people don't know is Ronin. And Ronin is a great film for European car chase scenes, one of my favorites.
Lyle, let's roll our next group of cars. Let's take a look at this next grouping of cars. And first up, we've got Bruce Trenery's 1966 Jaguar XKE Coupe. And Bruce says he fell in love with the Series 1 XKE Coupe when a friend of his mother's came to their house one day for lunch in 1961. And Bruce's friend just sat there on the lawn and stared at the car the whole time she was there, only moving after she left after the lunch. And now Bruce has owned his own XKE for 15 years.
Bruce Trenery also runs Fantasy Junction right across the street from Pixar. So Bruce is the man who runs the classic car place Fantasy Junction.
Wow. Well, here's Andrew Weber's 1994 Porsche 968. And Andrew says, these days when cars want to look like pubescent transformers with all their sharp angles, the 968's clean styling with smooth lines are soft and easy on the eyes, and what he likes.
Yeah, the 968 is an unusual car. It kind of came after the 944. They only made them for a few years, and they're pretty rare these days.
And here's another Bruce Trenery. This time he entered his 1962 Alfa Romeo GT in honor of his friend Marvin Collins, who in the 70s had a repair shop specializing in this model called Fred's Auto Go Fast. And with his 4-cycle twin overhead cam 1300cc motor and 5-speed transmission, I'm sure it does go fast.
Yeah, Bruce has a love for Italian, British, and German classic cars. If you're ever in Emeryville, got to stop by Fantasy Junction.
Well, here's Mike Robinson, and Mike is a great fixture, and he was one of the organizers of the car tour in his 1970 Buick GS convertible. And he said he bought it in 1991 from a dealer in San Francisco. The dealer had the car in the window, and Mike went by it every day, and finally he got up enough money he couldn't resist it, and he bought it. And it's been an institution in Orinda, and he's seen around town looking good in that. Oh boy, what a lot of fun. And here we have David Tan's 2007 Mercedes-Benz 50th anniversary limited edition SL 550 Roadster. Just 550 of these were produced. It's just meticulous in all respects. And David is doing a great job of maintaining the car. You could eat your lunch off that car.
Yeah,
Wow.
those SL 550s are extremely high powered, and they've come down a lot in price when they were new. You can actually buy one of these as a daily driver, and they're a great car.
Well, here we have Alan Johnson's Cord, and I smile, look at this design. It was manufactured by Sports Automobile Manufacturing Company, which was founded by Bill Lear of Lear Jet Aircraft Corporation. Alan said he found the car in a chicken coop in Loomis, California. He's owned it for 6 years and continues to give it love and respect. Tish and I recently watched The Great Gatsby movie, and I think The Great Gatsby would love this car.
Well, you know, this is a replica of the original car from '37, but it's nice to see even a reproduction of the original.
And here's the Alfa Romeo Spider that I really wanted back when I got Ruby, but it's owned by Kara Robinstein-Hoxie since new. She's had it since 1984, and it's crossed the country in both directions, and now husband Tim keeps it looking good and running smoothly.
Neat to see that it's a car, an Alfa that's actually got a lot of miles on it that's been driven.
Oh, yeah, that's well used. Well, next up, we have a 87 Ferrari Testarossa purchased by Paul DeVivo in 1990. It is in its original condition and has not been modified anyway. The Testarossa produced from 84 to 91 with 12 cylinders, take you from 0 to 60 in 5.5 seconds. 12 cylinders, my God.
Yeah, when I look at that car, I think of two words: Miami Vice. It's got that look.
I know that you're a reviewer for Automotive Addicts. It's an online site, and I've gone to it, and you review various cars for them. And I know when I dropped over your house the other day, there was this outrageous Mercedes parked in your driveway that you were going to test and review. Tell us about that Mercedes.
Yeah, I don't normally get cars that fancy for the automotive review site, but I lucked out for 1 week. I had the Mercedes AMG GTR, which is a 577 horsepower two-seater, really a super car for Mercedes. If you ever watch Formula One and there's an accident, a safety car comes out, and the safety car has to be fast enough to boogie around a racetrack and keep up with F1 cars, and that's the car they use, an AMG GTR. So had that car for a week and really had a blast driving it around.
Oh, great. Normally, as you've described before, we've got all the cars, usually 150 to 200 of them, down around the Orinda Motors area. And just to give you our audience a flavor of what that normally is like, and hopefully we'll be back to that next year. I've been there every year. I set up sound system throughout the entire area, and we've got all sorts of car music playing in the background and people having a great time. But Lyle, let's roll our clip of the 2015 car show, just a short clip to give a little flavor of what that is normally looks like.
That's the Chevy.
Is this in a muscle? Oh yeah.
And someone who's the doctors told me that music is one of the last things.
Here's a LaSalle. 1940 LaSalle. 1936 Ford convertible. Cabriolet. It's a 36 cord. It's a 36 cord.
Hey, I got another one for you. So let them provide you quotation. Here's a quotation. And they will refund your entry fee for free. They got a free drawing for a free TV. There's a sign I'm standing right in front of it here. Free TV. Again, free is good. Everybody knows that. Must be present to win. At 1 o'clock today, we're going to have the drawing. So come over here, sign up for Maurice, and I'll do with a free TV.
And now he's got something I'm not afraid it's going to break.
Yeah.
So this
1940 Ford Deluxe
is kind of
Coupe.
stuff that we can do.
Hey, they're looking at my car. Well, actually, what I'm doing is I've got a
It's fun. Is this yours? Oh, it's gorgeous. Too much fun. Well, you know, they're all fun. My playing my past that one. I had setting up. Yeah, setting up.
This looks like, yeah, they had the show. I have a Texas on.
Great stuff. Huh?
No, those are great memories. And what made that particularly special that year was that we were able to use the 16th fairway of the beautiful Orinda Country Club. And you saw that where those Porsches were lined up all over there. Orinda Country Club, and it really is almost like a Pebble Beach scene. Unfortunately, the Orinda Club, at great expense, redid all the irrigation on the 16th fairway, and not too enthusiastic about having cars on there in the future, but there are great friends over there.
Well, hopefully someday. Being on the lawn is nice. It does sort of elevate it a little bit.
And let's roll with our clip number 7 then, Lyle. Oh boy, we're leading off by Jay. This is Lil Blue. Talk to us about this, Jay. This is yours.
This is my car. I actually registered for the event this year before I realized I would be doing commentary with you. I would have been in the car tour with my 76 911S.
Boy.
I bought this from our old neighbor in Orinda at our old house, and her husband had bought the car in 1980, and she had driven it between basically between 1980 and 1999 when she was too old to drive it anymore. Her husband passed away. This was his car he bought, and he died tragically, and she drove it, and then I fixed it up for her, and then ended up buying it from her, and I just love it. It's a member of our family now.
Well, I know you mentioned that she was really touched that when you got it in such great shape. Well, next we have Richard Barlowski's 2018 Ferrari 488 Spider, and this car is original with only the addition of a small rear spoiler. What a beauty, and there's a beautiful setting for it.
Yeah, those are not slow cars at all.
Oh, and here's a great one. It's Mike Lowry's 1950 Oldsmobile 88 Sedanette. And Mike acquired the car in 2019, and it's all original with recent work from Orinda Motors on all the mechanical systems to ensure reliability. And the car has a distinctive slantback sedanette styling, which Mike loves.
Yeah, the sedanettes were cool. They did them in Oldsmobiles, they did them in Cadillac, they did it in Buick, and they did it in Chevy. That was a GM style that they called the sedanette.
Well, here's Chris Riley standing in front of his 1969 Chevelle Malibu, and the car was purchased 20 years ago and is mostly original.
Looks like that last shot was at the Orinda Car Show some years ago.
Yeah, that was a classic muscle car. Well, next we have Robert Perkins' Shelby Cobra Roadster, and it is a Factory 5 replica of a 1965 Shelby Cobra SC 427. And Robert built this vehicle in his garage. Terry Rogers, take note of this. He built it up from 2007 to 2010, and he got it done.
He got it on the road. He did.
What an accomplishment to do that.
And this is where he gets his gas, it looks like. There's the front.
Oh, boy. It is Jack Martin's Ford Woody Wagon Hot Rod, and Jack purchased it in 2017 from Chuck Miller of Styline Customs. And Chuck, an award-winning builder, and he worked closely with Jack as he rebuilt and restored this beauty. It is distinctive in so many ways, none more than its color, creamsicle.
Yeah, it does look like candy, but that's a true Woody. Again, it looks like he's at a Woody's at the Wharf event down in Santa Cruz. They'll do that where they'll get all the Woody cars together at a wharf.
Oh, back to the muscle car, and it's Emily Lambert's 65 Mustang GT 350, and Emily acquired the car in 2016, and it is original, not restored, and the car is somewhat unique that only about 500 were produced in 65, and this car has many performance options.
Yeah, the Carroll Shelby built the GT 350 as well as the AC Cobra, but the GT 350 Fastback, these cars have really gotten valuable. In fact, the prototype GT 350 just passed the Bullitt Mustang as the most expensive Mustang of all time sold.
Well, and here's George Railton standing in front of his 79 Fiat 2000 Spider, and George has had the car for 3 years and has redone the suspension, steering, motor, interior, and top, and he says it's been part of the Fiat Spider Forum, and he owes his fellow forum members a great debt for all the information they've shared. That's kind of interesting.
Well, he had to do a lot of work. That's definitely that can happen with a Fiat. And it looks like he's at the All-Italian show as well. I recognize that field there.
Let's take a look at some more of our classic car show movies.
I don't know.
Oh, yes.
Got my blood, now it's my car!
There to itself and to the rest of the field. And Stuck has collided with Mario Andretti's Lotus. Nicky's boxed in. He's got nowhere to go.
E Scampania Lauda riesce a passare ed evitare la collisione con gli avversari.
Turn the lead. Slow down.
Ayrton Senna has hit the wall. Ayrton Senna is out of his car and out of this race.
Ayrton Senna goes out of the lead of the Monaco Grand Prix.
Absolutely.
Well, go ahead here, Jake. Clue us in on what we have.
All right, so the first clip we saw was Grand Prix from 1966, starring James Garner. And that was supposed to be a race at Monaco. You saw the car go off into the water, and that would have been at the harbor at Monaco. Believe it or not, they still race at the Monaco, that street circuit today in Formula One. They still race at Monaco all these years later. It's one of the oldest circuits in Formula One. The second clip was from Cars, which we spoke about. The third one was the latest Mad Max installment that was done 2 years ago with George Miller back at the helm of the Mad Max series. That was the new film. Next up, we had Rush, which is the story of Niki Lauda and James Hunt's famous rivalry in F1, which was shot by Ron Howard a few years ago. I love that movie. If you haven't seen Rush, it's a great, great film. And lastly, we had a documentary on Ayrton Senna, who is considered one of the greatest Formula One drivers of all time, Ayrton Senna. And that documentary won the BAFTA award for greatest documentary of the year, and it is an absolute tearjerker. So catch that one too if you can.
Now, is there a car now being sold using the Senna name?
There is. You're on top of things. So McLaren is a Formula One team, but they're also a maker of supercars, and they have dubbed their latest hypercar supercar the Senna as a tribute to Ayrton Senna. A little known fact, kind of the last road car that Ayrton Senna sort of had direct connection with was the Acura NSX or the Honda NSX. You'll see those running around, that cool mid-engine car they made in the early 90s. And Ayrton Senna was actually involved with the development of that car. So he is still a legend to this day.
Lyle, let's roll our next group here. Oh, yeah, and here's a beauty. This is Smitty Schmidt's 2001 Audi TT Quattro, and the car was especially factory ordered due to the rare desert green color. It's a beauty, and it took 6 months from the date of order to get it delivered, and he says that the TT is part of his family and will always remain so. Boy, is that a beauty.
And it's a manual too. You see, he's actually got a stick shift in there. So that's a great theft deterrent. Most young people can't drive a stick shift to steal a car. That does happen. And they just go on to the automatic to steal. So great theft deterrent.
And then here's Robert Isaac's 68 Triumph TR250. And Robert dreamed of owning a Triumph 250 since he was in high school. And finally, in 2018, after refining his knowledge of exactly what he wanted, he came across this car somewhat by chance and knew immediately it was the right one.
Wow, beautiful restoration on it too. I mean, really nice.
He's done all of his work, all of his own work on that car.
Phenomenal.
Oh, look at this bright red 1970 Chevy Nova. It's Robert Catley's, and it is a Baldwin Motion clone with a few modern touches, and Robert has owned 5 Novas since 1999, but this is the latest, bought in 2005 and garage built from the ground up.
Wow, did you see the engine in it? That was a large horsepower modern motor hiding underneath the hood.
Yeah, oh boy.
You can see actually he's put wider wheels on it just to handle all that extra power.
Oh, you can notice that. Well, here's Robert Neal's 1981 BMW 528i, and Chris Keneal's. Chris bought this car new in 1981 and then sold it in 2001 to his BMW mechanic for $2,500 because the maintenance was adding up. But then in 2007, 6 years later, after the mechanic had fully overhauled it, he bought it back for $2,100. What a deal.
What a deal. And you know, those cars are great handling, great driving cars. Not fun to work on, but they're really great cars to drive.
Well, here's the 64 Chevy Corvair Spider Coupe belonging to Stephen Maria Schreier. And Steve, his family bought a 4-door Corvair in '63, and then his dreams came through. He got a Spider for his graduation present, and it saw him through UC Berkeley, the free speech movement, the arrival of the Beatles, and the check-in at the Oakland Draft Induction Center.
These cars are great. You know, they were considered unsafe at any speed by Ralph Nader, but they actually were great cars.
And here's Joe Hurwitz's Alpha. What a story behind this car. It was first sold in '49 in Milan, by '76, it was in the U.S. in pieces, packed into 47 boxes. And then the boxes were passed on and on for 40 years, and finally ended up with a European restorer in 2016 who put it all together, and then Joe bought it in 2018.
Gorgeous car.
What a story. Wow. And here's Patrick O'Driscoll's 57 Chevy Bel Air Coupe, and the Bel Air was completely restored and has a 502 Ramjet motor, custom suspension, and the underside there you see is a thing of beauty. And Patrick was born in '57, and he's happy to be driving a '57.
Yeah, this is obviously a complete frame-off resto mod car where everything's been rebuilt. We saw that car leave on the tour, didn't we?
Yeah. And here finally is Sean Riley's '93 Ferrari 348 Series Speciale. And the Ferrari Series Speciale was made its debut in 1992. Only 45 coupes and 65 Targas were ever built, and less than 100 exist today. And this car also has a full Ferrari Challenge Racing Series package, so it's pretty unusual.
Yeah.
Oh boy, by the way, we've got Kathy and Zarek out there, and she's watching the cars go by.
Great.
There's that big Red Baron, I think.
Yep, 55.
Big Red. Yep. That was the name of that one. Also,
our,
these are great shots that Kathy has of the cars taking off here.
Yeah, there's our BMW. Oh, we got our drone shot again. That was the, if you look behind the blue Corvette, is the BMW 5 Series. See it turning there? Oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
That's a BMW 6 Series. That's a different one. That's a coupe. And then we've got, hey, there's Gunny. There's our T-Bird Gunny.
Gunny, here's the Creamsicle.
And there's Creamsicle Woody coming by. So a lot of cars we've been talking about, which is really neat to see them actually driving about instead of just photos, right?
And this drone shot is just magical. My God.
It's really great. It's so steady. It's unbelievable. It looks like he's standing up on a ladder with cars driving underneath him. But of course, this is an actual drone floating up there. You know, these actually might be the cars returning from the first wave, because I recognize the black Bentley and the Viper that took off at the very beginning. So
that may be that they've already completed the loop over the top of the hillside, and they're returning to Orinda Motors. So, but anyway, they're great to look at here, all lined up together.
Yep, this is our first wave of cars, and there's the BMW 5 Series there. We just had the Lotus go by. There's our 57 Chevy that left earlier. Absolutely, these are our cars. There's our Galaxy in the aqua color. So a lot of our cars are turning. Got a volunteer crossing with their flag. She's like, give me my checkered flag so I can wave them in.
I think that's Diane Lautz, our co-chair, who is very enthusiastic, and she's waving the flags as they complete the tour. There's that Thunderbird.
Yep, and then the Ford GT. So yeah, there's our first wave of cars.
Oh, that's the first wave coming back. What a great shot that is. Horatio Jung with his drone. Oh my goodness. Well, let's jump over and see our next grouping of cars. And we've got leading off with Charlie Zaxkorn's 1970 Ford Boss 302 Fastback, another Boss here, only built from 1969 to 1970, and that was Ford's attempt to compete in the Trans Am Series racing, and it was purchased in 2018 and fully returned to its original condition. Another Boss.
Yeah, very good. Great cars.
And here is Stan Sutton's 1966 Sunbeam Tiger 1A. And this also was designed by Carroll Shelby and built in Britain by Roots. And it's amazing power thanks to its Ford 302 horsepower engine in this light 2,600-pound car. And it's appeared in numerous Hollywood films, including James Bond at the wheel and Dr. No.
Yeah. So the Sunbeam standard car was called an Alpine, but if you put the big Ford V8 in it, it became a Sunbeam Tiger. So that was kind of the first American V8 transplanted into a British car.
We need to stand up and salute as this Jim Callahan's 1931 Callahan V16 goes by. It was specially ordered by the Illinois congressman and newspaper magnate Ira Copley in Bimini blue with black fenders matching the colors of his alma mater, Yale University.
Wow.
A V16, that's 16 cylinders. Oh gosh.
There was a time when they kept trying to updo each other in the luxury car class, and they went up to V16s.
Well, here's Kirk Haley in his 1969 Ford Mustang Fastback GT, and Kirk has a 23-year moving love affair with this car. It was his muscle car in college. Then he sold it when he felt it was time to grow up. As the years went by, he longed for it and then miraculously spotted it under a tarp in his old neighborhood. He's able to buy it again and reunited and happy.
Great.
Oh, and here's a beautiful scene. It is Bill Oldham's 1960 Porsche 356 Royal Blue S90 Roadster. And Bill and his Porsche get around. Shown here is a 2011 photo with his granddaughter at Crater Lake, followed by this 2016 photo with a car along the Hardanger Fjord in Norway, where Bill and his wife traveled following the Porsche 356 International meeting in Denmark.
They had to ship the car over to Europe to do that tour. How neat is that?
Wow, that is an enthusiast. And here's Miguel Angel's classic Mercedes, and it has served him well and once traveled to New York and back. And of course, Mercedes, it dates back to 1926. They're the largest seller of premium vehicles in the world, having sold over 2 million passenger cars. What a tradition. Oh boy, and here is Chris Harnett's 1929 Ford. And this car came to life starting in 1995 with the purchase of a rusted original undercarriage frame together with separate dismantled rusty pieces of its original body. And it's now got a Chevy 283 engine installed, and he regularly drives it. What a great car.
Yeah, Model A Tudor. They made a lot of them, and they're still amazing how many are still left on the road. Cars from the late 20s, because Henry Ford made millions of Model A's.
Well, we finish up with John Tennyson's 1960 Dodge. And John purchased this way back in 2003 and has upgraded it with Magnum 500 wheels and redline tires, replaced the vinyl top of the driver's seat with original materials, and repainted the car as needed, but it's otherwise original.
Great. Very rare car to restore. You just don't see a lot of the Coronets around, and it's just a nice restoration with the redline tires.
I want to take the time to thank our sponsors. We've actually had a lot of wonderful sponsors. So Lyle, if we can roll that PowerPoint, we'll acknowledge our sponsors. And of course, Orinda Motors and the Orinda Classic Car Center is our presenting sponsor. They're our lead sponsor. Alliant Insurance with David Alvarado, our exhibitor sponsor. And then a variety of supporting sponsors, the Harwood family, whoever they are, Canopy
I love
Health.
The Harwood family. If you want to get a great meal, go see the Harwood family.
The great Clark Thompson and Village Associates, the Cobra Experience, Finola Fellner Real Estate, Inception, the John Muir Health, Mechanics Bank, a great supporter of all sorts of events, Mercedes-Benz, the Orinda News, Postino, Republic Services, Brian Silvera and State Farm, Pellegrini, 92.1 KKDV, Barbara Bronner Real Estate, KRON, and the San Francisco Realtors Association of Realtors. And also we want to thank our many partners in this, the Orinda Association, that's the parent organization that runs the Seniors Around Town program, the Orinda Community Foundation, Orinda Rotary, Orinda Historical Society, Orinda Arts Council, and again, Seniors Around Town, all near and dear to our hearts in Orinda. Great traditions we have here of community activities and support. Well, Lyle, let's take a closer look at some of the cars we have here today. So we have Bob Sundberg and his 1968 Firebird 455 convertible. He's owned it since '74, and Bob's children have grown up in the car of their family, and they've used it as a wedding car. Bob loves to put it, he says he loves to put the top down and drive out on Marsh Creek Road whenever he needs a quick getaway from the daily grind.
I bet. That's the same body as a Camaro of that era, but this is Pontiac's version. And I think these are so much more cool because they're so much more rare.
Well, next up we have here Wendell Tong's 1965 Porsche 356 Cabriolet, and Wendell acquired the car in 2007, and the car is still has the original rust-free floor pans and matching doors and panels. And 1965 was the final year of the Porsche 356, after which it was replaced by the 911.
That's right. He bought it at the right time because after '07, the Porsches really took off in value.
Well, it's a lovely design. Well, changing the pace, here's Adam Strong's 1975 Series 3 Land Rover, and it was actually used as a military truck before it was brought from Costa Rica to the United States. So it's got some history, and Adam has ways to go restoring it, but he is enjoying the process.
Those have so much charm. I think the old Land Rovers are neat because they're just so straightforward and really rugged for off-road use is what they were built for.
We'll talk about great looks. Here's Glenn Zamanian's 1955 Jaguar XK140 MC Drophead Coupe, one of only about 175 cars still in existence with its special options. And Glenn purchased the car in 1996, and his priority was to have the car be a fun, usable old driver so the kids could crawl all over it without fear of scratching it. What a beauty.
Yeah, how fun to just be able to enjoy the car.
Oh, we got a wonderful Porsche. It is Bill Criswell's 2006 911 Porsche Cabriolet, and he bought this in 2006, and it's his third 911. Bill says he loves the Porsche's power, speed, and cornerability, and having a convertible just adds to the fun of driving. He says he purchased this beauty 18 years after his second one, as having kids and Porsches at the same times doesn't mix. And here is Dennis Kuramai's 1934 Ford three-window coupe. What a story behind this car. Dennis's parents drove this car cross-country on their honeymoon and then started their family in California. Maintaining this car in perfect condition, what a great way to sustain the family link to the past. Here is Randall Mesa's 2014 Mustang Shelby GT500 convertible. He notes it is mildly modded and is number 784 out of a build of 914 in 2014. It was originally rated at 662 horsepower and now has a bit over 700. Oh my! And here is Tim Tolley's 1960 T-Bird. He calls it Lucky Devil. Watch out.
Jump up. Get it. Hey. Devil with a blue dress, blue dress, blue dress. Devil with a blue dress on. Ooh, yeah. Devil with a blue dress, blue dress, blue dress.
Here's Joe Hale's 1973 Porsche 911, the Blue Baron, taking its name from the original Gulf Blue 911E color. It's now exclusively a rally car and has been in a number of rallies in the United States and Mexico, and it's equipped with a 3.4 twin-plug Carrera engine that's been modified into a 3.6.
Wow, I love that Gulf livery. That light blue and orange is really cool.
And here's Brian Temple's 1989 Pontiac Trans Am GTA, standing for Gran Turismo Americano, and it's powered by a Corvette-sourced L98 5.7 350 and a 4-speed overdrive transmission.
Here's our BMW coupe that we saw.
Yes, it is, and it's John Britton's 1970 2800 CS. John says he thinks it is one of the most beautiful BMWs ever designed. He loves the pillarless coupe profile and the glass greenhouse area, which gives them unparalleled driving visibility.
It is really an elegant car. That's a nice word to sum up this styling, is elegant, I think.
Yeah, that window, it's stylish and also functional. And next we have Alan Norleen's 1971 Ford Bronco. I saw it going by before. He's owned it since '89, and since then has turned just about every bolt on the truck as he's done many upgrades and modifications. The truck has been through some toughest trails in the Sierras. Look at this, on Ford, Dice Creek, Doozy, Ursham, and Rubicon.
Wow, really cool to see how rugged and off-road that thing is.
Well, we go back to speed, and we've got Richard Smith's 2005 Ford GT two-door coupe. And since acquiring the car in 2012, he has logged 15,000 miles in it, so it does get around. And his only modification was to remove the catalytic converter, which increased the horsepower to 600 horsepower. So, oh my God, it gets around 600 horsepower. Oh
well,
boy.
Hopefully that's off-road use only without the catalytic converter.
Up to Bear Creek with that one. Okay, here's Dwayne McMillan's 95 Corvette Coupe, and he spotted it in 2016 in a small used car lot in Sacramento, and the rest, as they say, is history. The Corvette, car with a firm place in American history.
Unusual color, too.
Oh, and this is a beauty. It's Phil Horton's 1950 Buick Super. We saw that going by. The car's Dynaflow two-speed transmission was derived from a tank transmission made in World War II. And Phil acquired the car 10 years ago, done a full restoration. Look at that.
I always think of the movie Rain Man with Dustin Hoffman and the big Buick convertible.
Of course. And here's Edward Feldman's 1960 Morris Minor 1000 Traveler Woody. And Morris purchased the car 6 years ago. The Orinda Car Tour is the car's first car show of any kind. I say, little car, welcome to the big time.
Yeah, and a little Woody is at that.
Oh, it's a beauty. And here's Franco Oreggi's 1972 MG Midget, and it was modified from top to bottom and now sports a Ford V8 in there. And Franco says this car is a thrill to drive. He loves the power and the exhaust notes under hard acceleration.
Look how much he had to do to wedge that engine in there.
And here's Charlie Betancourt's 73 BMW 2002 TII. And Charlie purchased this in 2016, made many modifications working with Cougar Works in Santa Rosa. And he says modifications are the result of hundreds of might as wells, as in, well, if you're going to do this, you might as well do that.
It always starts with the best of intentions before the pocketbook is empty.
Oh, here we have a little bit of final footage coming in, and we've got Diane Lutz waving her flags and welcoming people. What do we have here, actually, Jay?
We just had the 70 Mustang convertible, and now we've got the another Mustang, looks like a GT convertible, a Shelby GT convertible. Here's our restored 68 Camaro, the one we were talking about that was in perfect stock condition.
Oh, here's one of our Woodies, right?
And there's our 47 Ford Woody. Yep,
oh, yeah.
That's right behind. So that's coming by, our 47 Ford Woody, looking great. Looks like everybody finished the tour in good shape. We've got our Mustang Fastback, our Mach 1. And then it looks like we've got the 58 or 59 Thunderbird, what we call the square birds, because they got back.
Oh, with all those nasty tattoos on it.
Yeah, all the airbrushing. Another Mustang Fastback, Mach 1. A few more cars coming in. Yes, we have our Fiat 124 Spider, Fiat 2000 Spider that the gentleman rebuilt. And then it looks like a few cars kind of peeling off. They decided to not cross the finish line. They don't like flags. Either they broke down or they just said, that's it, I'm stopping right here.
Oh, but well, on that note, Jay, I say thank you so much. Well, you are just a wealth of knowledge and delightful to be with on this telecast. Thanks to you. And of course, Bill Waterman and Diane Lutz, our co-chairs of this event. A great, great success. And with that, we say so long. We'll see you next year. cars here are